Welcome to Living Room Talks with Sarah Jane. We are so excited to have you join us today. I'm Sarah Jane, and here at Living Room Talks, we discuss everyday topics that impact women no matter what stage of life they are in. I'm so excited to have such an incredible woman join me on the show. I would like to introduce you to Choechoe. Cho has her own business called The Good Story Co. and has published her own children's books. Cho lives in Newcastle with her husband, Dominic. Welcome, Cho.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. Hi, I'm so pleased to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
No worries. We are so excited to have you on board today.
Thank you.
But Cho, let's give the listeners a bit of an idea of who you are. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Ghanaian by birth. That's West African, and I was born to a pair of medics. Both my parents, my dad's a surgeon and my mum's a pediatrician, and they loved moving. I've lived in 5 different countries. I'm the citizen of 3, and I had a really rambunctious upbringing because I'm one of 5 kids, but I'm the only girl, so the rest were boys. It's that kind of diversity has been awesome because I guess my likes are a little bit tailored to just the awesome variety in my life. I love winters, although I was born in a hot country. I love the cold. I love exploring. I love road trips. I love spending time with loved ones because we're a very close family, and me and my husband are really close as well. And I love exploring little stories and new things, finding new things. I love walking, running. Yeah, lots of different.
I love that show. Do you have a favorite country, or you don't want to say?
Oh, I couldn't say. Although Ireland is pretty high up there.
Really?
Yeah, Southern Ireland is pretty high up there. I lived there for years, and I love the people. The scenery is breathtaking. As far as countries I've lived in, that is definitely up there.
Yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list. Definitely Ireland one day when we can.
Yes.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon.
I love that so much, Cho. And so I know that you are a content writer and you run your own business called The Good Story Co.
Yeah.
Tell us how your journey started.
Oh, well, career-wise, I used to be a scientist, would you believe? And that's what I'm qualified in. So I was a research scientist for decades. I used to be a forensic scientist, and then I moved into research. And that for a few years. But, as a kid, I always loved writing, and it was really unusual. Like when I was 4 or 5, I'd always write these crazy stories for my parents. And then during teenage years, I used to love reading, and I just wanted to write these amazing, inspiring stories. But they got to a point during my science career when I think I just, my shelf life in the lab was coming to its end. And it was so interesting because I really felt that God lit this huge flame in me for writing, and it was like bumping into your first love again. It was really unusual. It was overwhelming. It was strong to the point where it actually made me give up my science career to follow it. And the rest is history. I haven't really looked back since. It's been a hard slog, but doing what you love is, I tell you, it's worth it. So yeah.
That's fantastic. And I reckon that would resonate with so many women, Cho, because sometimes we can get, I don't want to say stuck, but sometimes we think because we've studied a certain thing,
yes,
we're in a certain career or industry, we can't change to something completely different.
Absolutely. And I think that's a mindset that has been drilled in us for years. You study so long to do something and you don't want that time to be wasted. But I completely advocate that sometimes change is phenomenal. And what a blessing to be able to have that side of your life in one career and then to be able to take off and do another one. I just think that's wonderful. And I think no one should feel trapped where they are. I fully encourage people to follow what they feel, where they feel their heart's leading them. So
yeah, I 100% agree, Cho. I love that. And so running your own business, and I personally I experience this too. There's a lot of challenges in running a business, whether it's trying to get clients or it could be anything really. What would you say are the types of challenges that you might face in running your business, and how do you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question. The challenges are broad. And I would say one of the biggest ones, which I didn't realize would be an overtly challenging issue, but it was trying to understand what I wanted my business to be and where it was going, and standing up values for that business so that if anything challenged them or I found myself going in the wrong direction, I could bring myself back to north or true north. And you don't know that. I think sometimes in businesses, there's a slow creep towards what people demand of you or other people's expectations as to what they want you to do for them. And of course, it's not that you can't do it, but you have to understand what kind of business you are. Are you a business that are you a business that just responds to what people need? And hear me on that. I'm not, of course, every business responds to the needs of others, but, do others dictate your direction, or do you dictate your direction and then bring along those who are going in the same direction? So there was a point when I started to get frustrated in my business. I was writing things and I loved my clients. All my clients, I've been blessed to have amazing ones, but something about the work I was doing just felt wrong. And months before that, my husband had worked with me to set up a type of business model which stood up what it is I wanted to provide for clients, what gaps I was meeting for them, what were my values, and what it is that I wanted my business to achieve. And so I became really frustrated, and I said to him, what is going on? Why is it that I love my clients, but this work is not gelling? And he said, okay, well, what are your values? Do they meet that? What was that direction that you penned down in your business model? Are you going in that direction? And when I looked at it, I was way off course. So that was part of what was causing the frustration. And it's interesting because you don't realize that slow creep. And I think that's one of the biggest dangers in business. You don't want to say no to anyone, really. Every client is a paycheck, which is wonderful, but you can do that at the sacrifice of what's really important to where you want to go. And that is in a danger in itself. So, there's lots of challenges, trying to get clients, but I'd say that's one of the biggest ones. To enjoy your business, you have to set a proper course for it, and keep reiterating that course, but it has to be your course. And you have to choose how you get the clients that reflect that course you're going on. And that has been, I think, to this day, one of my biggest challenges as well. And of course, like I said, saying no is hard. It's really hard. It's hard to turn away someone who wants to pay you for what you want to do, but sometimes you just have to. So, yeah.
That's a great call out, Cho, that align your business to your values.
Absolutely.
Something that I haven't really thought about, and I am thinking about it more, especially as I think about who are my clients and who's my client. Because you could go out to everyone, but I think you've got to get really specific about who is your audience.
Absolutely.
What type of clients do you want to attract? And I think that starts, as you said, what are your values? Exactly.
And Seth Godin did, I actually did a course with Seth Godin a while ago, and he points that out and he calls it out. What kind of, and this wasn't for a freelancer, what kind of freelancer do you want to be? Do you want to be the dime a dozen freelancer where there's everyone kind of vying for the same job? Or do you want to be the freelancer that people remember and saying, I'm going back to that person because she was amazing. She spent time with me. She filled the gap or met my need. I will not go with anyone else but this one. And so thinking about the kind of business you want to build, it's so important. And it's a lesson I learned, in the process of running a business.
Yeah, that's a great lesson. And so whilst you've been running a business, you also are an author.
Yes.
You author children's books.
Yes, I do.
So how did you get into writing books, and then how did you get specific about children's books?
I love children's books. If you read them, there is no boundaries to imagination. There is none. And I remember reading them as a younger and as a teenager, and just thinking you can be or do anything in these books, and nothing really stops children from thinking anything is possible. And that is amazing. I think somehow that reflects with how I feel, as I love Jesus. Nothing to me is impossible with him. And I love that imagination that comes through with children's books as well. And so getting into it was funny because we'd moved into our home here as it is, and there was no furniture. We were sat in this one couch here, and I just had this story idea come to mind, and I started writing it down, and it formed into a story. And I spent about 6 months writing and rewriting and rewriting, and then I paid for a session at the Writers Centre in Sydney, and I paid for a professional and seasoned writer just to hear it and give me advice. And I had no idea that this woman was the guru of children's book writing. And I'm glad I didn't, because I would have been freaked out. But she listened to it and she loved it. She said it was great. It had all the things of a good story. So she actually got me into the world of publishers. So my first book is published with Walker Books, which is a really great title in Australia and England and the States. But yeah, that's kind of how I started. And I've always enjoyed writing stories as a child. So now I think about it, it seems natural, but of course, you go off course in one career and you don't realize that this is also true to you. So yeah, it was a really interesting process. I wouldn't say it was conventional, but it was interesting.
That's awesome. So Cho, if someone is interested in buying your books, where can they find them?
They can get them from any good bookstore. So Harry Hartog's, Macleans in Newcastle. They can get it online at Booktopia. They can get it anywhere, I think Dimex, or you can order it in through Walker Books may have links to where it's being sold. But yeah, any good bookstore. And if it's not in stock, you can ask them to get it for you. Yeah.
Fantastic. We might link some of those down below so that people can access, because I know so many parents that would love your children's book. So fantastic.
It's a rhyming one, so it's really tongue twisty and sweet. So I hope
that's fun. Yeah, that's really great.
Thank you.
Business and being an author, one of the things that comes to mind is that there needs to be some type of resilience in running a business, and definitely writing a book. It takes time, takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Even so, more now, Cho, with what's happening in the world, resilience is just something I've been thinking about over and over again. How would you describe resilience for you?
I guess I've always been the sort of person where if someone says to me, you can't do this, I'm like, oh, that's okay, I'll just find another way. And to me, resilience is understanding the importance of what it is you want to do and then doing it no matter what comes your way. It is such a mental game. It's easy to sit down and feel defeated, and sometimes that's okay. You can do that, but you have to get back up. If it really matters to you, you will, and you have to. If someone says you can't do it this way, say that's fine, I'll do it another way. I'll find another way, and I won't stop until I get there. I remember asking the very same lady who introduced me to the world of publishing. She used to run, her and her husband used to run a publishing house. And I said to her, how did you know your business was going to be successful? And she was like, failure wasn't an option. I didn't know it wasn't going to be successful, but failure just wasn't an option for us. And I love that. That's gutsy. It's an easy thing to say. It's a harder thing to put into practice. But it's crucial. I think mentally, not to be defeated, to pivot when something doesn't go wrong, sit, think through, reiterate, and then get up and try another way. And, surround yourself with people who will continually encourage you. That is huge. My husband is, just a little shout out to him. He is relentlessly encouraging. And I mean relentlessly. There is not a day when he will not say to me, you are doing the right thing. You need to keep going. You have to. And those are the people that we all need to be surrounded by. Don't do this by yourself. When it's a bad day, tell someone. And someone who will say, okay, I hear you. It's a terrible day. Let's go have fun. Tomorrow we'll start again. So I think that's one of the biggest things for resilience as well.
That's powerful, Cho. And that reminds me of my own life and partner. I've been going through some challenges lately, and I've been feeling like this is really hard, and
Right.
he keeps speaking life into me. You know, he'll speak God's truth. He'll speak
Absolutely.
into that situation. And I just feel like, oh my goodness, like, yes, he'll help me shift my perspective. And that could be through a friend or a spouse or a family member.
Yes.
But like you said, like, don't do it alone. And we don't have to do it alone. So that's really powerful.
Thank you. I think it's true. We're better together. We're never meant to be by ourselves. And some days it's just hard to cut through the fog. You feel like you're facing an insurmountable wall, and you need someone to go, you know what, it's not that big. And if you can't do it, I'm going to help you. And that is half the battle. I'd say 75% of the battle won.
Yeah. And that reminds me of the other thing that you could also couple with resilience, disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially in running a business and stepping out on your own, there would be lots of disappointments that people would be facing.
Absolutely.
How do you manage, and it could be similar to resilience, but how do you overcome disappointment?
That's a really good question, Sarah. And if I'm 100% honest, I think that in the past, I haven't managed it very well. With a career like writing, and, you know, with businesses, we pour our heart and soul into it. So every rejection feels like it's personal. And that can be really difficult to handle sometimes. If you've set your hopes up on something, or there was an expectation with a positive outcome, it can be really difficult. As time goes on, though, I have learned to manage disappointment better. And I guess the best way I do it is to understand, first of all, that I believe that I have got to the point where I am good enough to do something well. And so part of that is to understand that you are good at your work. You're good at your job. You know, you work hard, you give your all. If that's true, then absolutely. And it's working in your business to be the very best. And then when disappointment comes, it doesn't last as long. It doesn't feel as if, you know, you go through the, what could I have done better? Am I not good enough? Am I doing this terribly? Are there a million other people who could do it better than me? You know, all the questions that come to your mind. Set it in yourself that you are good, and work towards the point where you do become good. And then when disappointments come, just go, okay, that's obviously not an opportunity that was right for me. Another one will come along. And I think it's a huge thing, knowing God, to understand that he absolutely is, you know, author and finisher of every opportunity that we have. So to trust him in that space as well is really important. But for people who don't know God, it's knowing that opportunities will come and go. And this most certainly won't be the last one. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's a beautiful encouragement. And I think too, to add to that, it's okay to feel those things, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's imperative that you do. You have to go through the process of grieving, you know, an opportunity that you would have loved, perhaps. It is so important to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then once you've gone through that process, to then step forward, you know, exactly. Don't well, and don't continually sit in that space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know, I read an interesting thing about James Dyson, and I think when he was making his Dyson vacuum cleaner, I mean, he had invented a bunch of other stuff before, and he was great, but I think it was something like 50,000 iterations before he got to the point where he had made, I mean, can you imagine it? He was tinkering in his shed.
Oh my goodness.
I hope I haven't exaggerated that number. I may have, but it was a ridiculous number of iterations that he had done before he got to the point where he had a multiple product. Now, that is a lot of disappointment. That is a lot of disappointment. But if he had stopped, you know, at the first or the second or even the 100th disappointment, I mean, we wouldn't have a household name anymore. So it's a valuable lesson to see how other people have just pushed past, you know, the knockbacks, the setbacks, to keep going and to be who they are today. They're a great encouragement. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's so many similar stories to the Dyson story.
Yeah.
Like many times, if you look up successful people, they didn't become successful overnight. It
Absolutely.
took a long time, and knockbacks and disappointments, but they kept going.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key. You know, failure is not about meeting a disappointment. It's about giving up, and that's when you fail. But I think that you know, ups and downs happen through anything and everything. Life in general and everything within life has its ups and downs. You can't afford to let it stop you. You just can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm getting so much from this interview, Choe. It's so good.
It's lovely to talk to you, Sarah. It's really encouraging just to have this conversation. And I feel as if I can go away and think, okay, great. I feel even re-energized to go back and, you know, put just that extra, just pour myself out into my business again, just from talking about this.
Oh, fantastic. Wow. And so as we kind of finish today, what advice would you give to other women? You know, maybe they are considering starting a business, or maybe they've already started and find it a bit hard. What advice would you give to them?
I guess it's pretty much the same thing. If they are starting a business, you know, I would encourage them to think through it, understand exactly what it is that they offer, find where their niche is, I guess their competitive edge, go with that, understand that it won't be smooth sailing, but have the mindset that no matter what happens, you'll keep going. And this has got to be something that matters to you. You know, otherwise at the first hurdle, you'll be encouraged to give up. For those who are already in businesses, you know, these are hard times. They really are. But there are many, many women who are in the same position and encourage each other. There is not many things that can get resilient people down, and this certainly won't be one of them. And I know women, I come from a matriarchal society, and I have a family history of my mom, my aunts. They're some of the strongest women I know. There is nothing that stops those women, nothing. And I am blessed to have that heritage. And so I encourage everyone, just keep going. Find if things have slowed down, use this time to rethink your business. You know, where else can you launch it, and what other direction? How can you make it better? You know, how can you improve it? Where else can you be looking for business? How can you connect with other women so that you can have a great you know, circle of encouragement, and have fun. You know, don't let it get it down. Make room for the amazing things that are still happening in life. Your kids, your spouses, your partners, you know, just keep going and bring balance to life as much as you can.
Such great advice. And I know that will impact so many women who listen to this show.
I hope so.
And really speak truth into their situation. So thank you so much, Choe, for today, for staying with us and sharing your wisdom and your experience. It's been such a privilege having you on the show. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. What an absolute blessing to be able to do this. And thank you for asking me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And who knows, maybe you can come back on the show in the future at some time.
I'll try and stop me. Anytime.
I love that so much. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I'll leave Choe's details below so you can check out her books and her business. Please subscribe to this channel as well. But thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.